Just getting everything set up. Currently looking at a heavily forested area, Ivory Coast, in Cote d'Ivoire, as French for the Ivory Coast. Ivory Coast is pretty infamous for the amount of wild lost due to cocoa production. I don't think this is related to that, but this looks like some of the last wild the Ivory Coast had pocket. And just in a few short, maybe a couple of weeks, it absolutely torched. Haven't seen anything like this. I have this boundary here, circling the area of the wildland. Is currently experiencing an alarming amount of fire, an outbreak of fire. You can see just how lush and green, moist this land is, just how dark and chaotic it becomes. We're talking about forest elephants, giraffe, buffalo, some of the big five, and also all the little five. Lions too, are the big five. Lions are this. Nothing could escape this. Everything in this wild jungle, this forested area, wouldn't have a chance. Fire doesn't mean the same thing to everybody. Some things will climb a tree to escape its fate, but this is too much, too fast. This incineration. We're looking at some of the last of Ivory Coast's wild land getting devastated and gutted by wildfires. There's already so much that's cut across, and one more time. Cote d'Ivoire, the Ivory Coast. Seeing an alarming outbreak of fires over the last couple of weeks. We don't want to speculate on any cause or point of origin. We're not looking for origin, that would be impossible. What we're looking at is some of the last heavily forested areas, West Africa, being completely devoured and gutted. by an outbreak of wildfires. It seems to hit a river, get in that vortex, that ditch, and gone. This is just in the outskirts, the outer, uh, just outside of where the fire is burning heaviest. See some deep-seated fires that are happening here that are just, there's as much fuel that it could possibly want. So many hills, rivers, channels, ditches that the fire is just this giant playroom. Run, jump, climb, maneuver around different areas due to slopes. Looking at some of the last of the heavily forested areas currently burning in Cote d'Ivoire, Ivory Coast, West Africa. Currently looking at wildfires, not conditions, we're looking at wildfires. There is probably a massive amount of drought. Let's check that out here. Down to the Ivory Coast. See? There. Exactly right where fires are taking place, even though this drought isn't very severe. Doesn't look like there's any moisture at all in the soil. We're seeing a lot of fires here. An outbreak of fires, of wildland fires that are currently engulfing a heavily forested area that is rich in life and biodiversity and plants, fauna, flora. Pretty devastating scenes. What we're doing is just going around the area, making time lapses, certain parts of these fires, get a better understanding of just how quickly this started and how much was already lost before anything could be done, if anything could be. I know about wildland firefighting in Africa, in this area, in a heavily forested area. Fire was even caught in time. But it being undoubtedly a national park would have certain protections. I don't believe these fires were set deliberately for cocoa. That is probably the first thing that people see when they Google Ivory Coast is its illegal cocoa production trade, illegal deforestation. This isn't illegal deforestation. This is an entire complex of forest and woods being devoured by fire. There's nothing to gain here. Massive amounts of loss. Massive amounts of loss in biodiversity. You have giraffe. A lot of animals that roam these areas that call it their own home for a period of time. Fire, smoke ruins everything. Nothing thrives under smoke. Everything chokes. In the last few days, These massive amounts of deep-seated fires burning uncontrollably, out of control. Hellish. We need all the woods and forests that we can keep around. Because in the United States, as an example, 100 years ago, 100 years ago, the tallest tree was 900 feet tall. Now the tallest tree is around 300 feet tall. We can't make up the 2,000 years or so some of these trees take to flourish. That's it. You should know there's redwoods in Florida. Florida redwoods. Think they're safe. This is nothing like I've seen before, though, because this is a deeply protected national park, national forested area, teeming with life. Currently, seeing a lot of extreme fire behavior. All these dark green patches. Let's go to the. See if we can see the smoke. Terrible. That's all smoke here. This is not cloud, shadow. There's the wildfire, and then you have the smoke. Plenty of other wildfires around here too that are completely obliterating everything's respiratory system with smoke, fire, soot, ash. We can go to the moisture index too. See how red that is? That is a massively mad, angry fire. I can zoom out and we can see let me draw this region again. This is the entire area that we're talking about, the entire area that's on fire, the entire area that we are currently spending time that we have to talk about, raise awareness, and quite honestly, just look at in shock. This is 162 kilometers and probably 162 kilometers from the longest end. 11,000 square kilometers as well. So we're not talking about tiny forest. We're talking about a national forest. Massive, huge, teeming with life. It looks gone. It all looks completely gone. Don't know what happened. I don't see any news regarding about it, but shame. Some of these areas, I was doing something else. My apologies. Let me back up and get that back there. Now I will use this. You'll be able to see it along this border. Was it off? Offset. As the fires encroach, drought continues and it acts as a pestilence on the land. These are very dire circumstances the Ivory Coast finds itself in. They have nothing to gain for destroying thousands of square kilometers of forest, cocoa bean production. Yes, this is insane. This is one of the largest fire outbreaks I think I've seen so far. It is complex, a flame that is burning in every direction, going up and down slopes, just taking advantage of the natural topography of the land. Drives away water, boils away moisture, and we can go here and we can see that these fires are real, numerous, and you can see just how these burn. It would be impossible to figure out the point of origin because it just seems to come out of every place. The entire border of it just is set ablaze almost alarmingly. So this is one of the last forests of the Africa, West Africa. It doesn't come back. That's fire taking over now. Yeah. Everywhere. There is nowhere that safe from fire. Just just plowed throughout this fire. Completely gutted landscape. massive. Goo settlements, villages, cities. Is absolute devastation. I'm sure when they affect the region, we're going to find a lot of incinerated animals. So this is insane. This is one of the worst outbreaks I've seen, devastating to a fragile ecosystem because nothing thrives under smoke and fire. Oh. This is not getting better. It's looking, these fires are slowing down. Plus, there's still plenty of flame to go around. That's those smoldering areas where there is smoke. But it doesn't look like an active fire perimeter, but I mean that it's not deep-seated or a lot of moisture in the soil-rich ground, earth, cause all the grass just immediately turn brown. Okay, smoke acts, pestilence. This whole area right here is devastated. One of the largest woodland forested areas I think I've seen that has met such this fate. Nothing left. Fire will consume it all the way to the river and back. You need to slow down, it has all the fuel that it could want. Time lapse this area here. Smoke is uncanny. Look up here. What's left? All this right here is at risk. Next, this is all gone. Still the fire perimeter here. Still have any striations. The areas, the redder, the worse the fire has been that is currently on fire. Quite a bit. Again, we'll do this. Last thing is this moisture index. You see how rich, moist. Talking about trees, grass, bushes, shrubs, all kinds of juicy beings, things that give off moisture that moisture can be detected from. We push play here. Turns itself into its own drought conditions through continuous fire patterns. The Sud over to the east of this in South Sudan is the world's largest wetland, currently on fire. Now this is one of the world's last large forested areas, especially you have massive amounts of large beings that still exist wild in these areas. Giraffe, forest elephants. And I'm afraid this is going to be considerably not as, no, I really don't want to exaggerate. This should be already considered Ivory Coast's Black Summer, or the Black Period of just utter scorched earth, just talking about different kinds of monkeys, gorillas. There's a lot here in these hills and these ditches and hippo, crocodiles. This wildfire poisons the river systems around the area as well, causes it to choke. It's burning in a pattern that's extremely one-to-one with the boundary that is currently incredibly drought-stricken now, because it's seeing so much fire and so fast, and it just boiled everything out. So if that were the case where ground, trees, bushes, grass, everything that has moisture, firestorm hits it, an ambient temperature 700 degrees Fahrenheit. Nothing's surviving that. Anything that dries out is going to combust. Anything that needs lungs is going to die. Unless it can burrow in the ground, even then it would have to burrow pretty deep. I don't see much life being able to survive this fire outbreak based solely on its speed. It's very ferocious outbreak. Because it's not just one fire, it's not just one direction, it's not in any particular region. It just happens. Just awful. You know, Ivory Coast, custodians to these forests and woods. Are they at fault here? Human caused? Is this from illegal cocoa producing fields and monocrops that meant to only burn a little bit of land? Why you don't burn your crops and your fields? Because you'll burn national forest, attempting to try to burn whatever you think is fire is going to kill. Fire isn't going to cleanse the land, just driving away and killing soil history, its richness. It doesn't get rid of pesticides, it doesn't get rid of prion disease. Besides those two things, I can't imagine what else. Farmers will continue to burn their crops. They're going to burn it for the weeds. They don't want to till, they don't want to get rid of it because they're overproducing. They need these fields now. They don't have time to tend to them. Whatever the reasons, this is insane. Anybody watches any kind of safari, like Wild Earth, Safari TV, it's pretty great. I can't imagine that similar sized area that represents those game reserves catching on fire, and it's just absolutely disastrous. Once on Wild Earth, they showed a giraffe that was hit by lightning. About 1,000 giraffes that died due to smoke, inhalation, suffocation, fire. Lions. We have a lot of animals that take in a lot of information by breathing in deep. Those are going to be affected the respiratory system. Wildland fire is too much. It's so many things that are burning out the wild into everything in everybody's lungs. With all the smoke, it's devastating. What we're looking at here is thousands of square kilometers of some of the last wildland left on the planet. Can't be understated. This and Sud, the wetlands, South Sudan, these two regions back to back are being decimated. Two very important ecosystems, not just for Africa, West Africa, but for the world. The world needs wetlands, the world needs bogs, the world needs sponges for rain. Else you're going to get rid of these forests, but the climate still says that you're going to get 3 months of rain in 6 days. You don't have trees, you don't have the plant life, the animals to drink it up. It's all gone. Still going to get that rain though. It's still going to be just as much, if not more. There's no gain here. You're not going to be able to plant enough monocrops to try to balance that out. There's no way. Never been done. Just way too much saturation that will just flood the area completely. Like the ground won't be able to keep it anymore, and oversaturation happens, and the water literally just rises everywhere because it can't go any further down to the water table. A lot of burn scars too. Water won't penetrate these burn scars. Water will roll over it. It'll treat it like a super slick area. Because it's not getting through that soil. It's not getting through that burnt soil layer. So it's going to be like a slide everywhere. This is absolute chaos. I don't think I've seen anything like this before. If I did, I'm not remembering right now because this is so much larger on a scale that is so many times greater than the fires that we're normally looking at. This is an entire wilderness that is just engulfed and gutted. Gone. Might not be anybody's fault. Might be everyone's fault. It's human caused. It's a failure. It's just the speed at which this fires take over this Ivory Coast forest is truly alarming. Let's go over here. Ivory Coast is, we're looking at this area up here. See, can I find the state? Can I find the state that might fit the criteria? It's not as big as most states, but still, it's thousands of square kilometers. Massive. If we can see it up here in the real time. Yep. You know how brown this is? This is the same region. Burn. You still see the smoke here. You can actually see the plumes of smoke. This resolution. Fires are burning hot and fast. Faster than can be fought. Faster than the animals can be rescued. I mean, it's wildland. It's not going to be rescued. Right there. Before the sun sets, because when the sun sets, you can't see wildfires and smoke on satellite any longer under normal circumstances. It's very alarming that this happened. This is happening because these fires are still there, still exist, even though we can't see them at the most recent scans because it's night. You can't see these unless under special circumstances. Or you look at these scans of these just over the area of today. So the most recent scans possible. Look at the best quality. See a lot of areas that still haven't burned, but then you come down here, you see this fire that just rips through the land. Right out. This is alarming on an international level because the size of this, the loss of this, will affect the planet. We're in a climate crisis. We can't tear down forests or woods. We can't allow them to burn. But how do you put out fires that are monstrous? You're not going to be able to contend with the wildlife. It's not going to respect that your fire truck. Forest elephants will come right at you. They don't know you. Especially if there is a wild panic. A lot of animals suffering, trying to get away from smoke, take advantage of predators that attack them, but this is very dire. I looked for recent news. Ivory Coast, Cote d'Ivoire. I find nothing. It is disturbing and upsetting. And this is only going to get worse. This can only get worse. Because losing a wetland, largest in the world, and losing one of the largest forests in the world in the same month is very damaging. We failed as custodians of these very important areas that are just sending us into perilous unknowns. Shame. Like, is this let's say 10,000 square kilometers? Come over here. Limpopo. Massive. It's just, I don't even need try to compare it to another city, another region, another state, another country, because that's it. Just you're looking at these boundaries up here. Those were the boundaries of the forest. These weren't boundary lines that were put there for fire line. This is a forest system here that was beaten and chopped down up until now. It's incineration. This is very alarming, especially having lost, probably losing, I should say. Again, just no information regarding the outcome of South Sudan, currently under internal armed conflict. There's already a low population density as it is in South Sudan, and I can't imagine first responders are allowed to take military equipment, helicopters to put out fires, because it's a target. And rapid support forces, South Sudanese military, everybody in between trying to either hide or evacuate. If people evacuated to these regions, these areas, I don't want to speculate. It's just so close to South Sudan. That I have to bring it up just a little bit. They are having an outbreak of fire as well. There are different circumstances, they haven't been able to put them out. At least over in South Sudan, on my last stream, you can see that there might have been attempts to put out something at one point, but the fires just are too random and are too rapidly growing, and the smoke is just too chaotic to think that it's being controlled at any level by anyone left. Now we have this. You see this here, this discoloration here, darker green to this lighter green. This is the forest, one of the last giant ecosystems, and it's just gone. Just a couple of weeks of blazes. This isn't anything that we can recuperate from. There's not a shelter for the animals here that are suffering. They all live outside. This is careless. It really just comes out of nowhere. Okay. I don't see any news related to it. By searching for Ivory Coast news and just looking at the websites that pop up. Also, just Google News, just trying to find anything in the Ivory Coast and Cote d'Ivoire. Okay. I will call the stream here. I hope this at least raises awareness to the devastating loss of an ecology still ongoing. We'll have to keep up with, especially if any official updates are given on estimates. Wow. Loss. Thank you for watching. Please, if you haven't already, like and subscribe. I will be back with another stream once the what. Yeah. Thank you again for watching.